The day your grant is approved feels like the finish line, and it is worth celebrating, but it is really the starting line because the letter of offer that lands in your inbox and the terms and conditions attached to it quietly govern everything that happens next. Most owners skim it once, sign and file it away, and that habit is exactly how avoidable trouble begins: a missed deadline, a cost that does not qualify, a rejected claim, a repayment nobody saw coming. So in the next few minutes we are going to read the fine print together, in plain English, from the approved scope and claim deadlines to reporting, clawback, ownership, publicity and audit rights, plus the simple habits that keep you on the right side of all of them. One important note before we start. This channel is educational only. We are not a government agency. We are not affiliated with or endorsed by Go Business Enterprise Singapore or any government body, and nothing here is official advice. The exact terms differ from scheme to scheme and change over time, so we will keep this to the big picture and always point you to the official source, gobusiness.gov.sg, and to your own letter of offer to confirm the current details for your situation before you rely on any of it. Approval is not the finish line. It is a natural feeling to treat approval as the moment the hard part ends, and in a way the hardest part of applying is behind you. But from the funder's side, approval is the moment your responsibilities begin. The letter of offer is a formal agreement, and by signing it you accept conditions in exchange for support about what you may spend on, how and when you claim, what you must report, and what happens if things go wrong. None of that is meant to trap you. It exists because this is public money being used to co-fund private projects, and it comes with accountability attached. The practical shift is simple: stop treating the terms as fine print to sign past, and treat them as the rulebook for the whole project you just agreed to run. Read it as carefully as you read the application guidance, because from here on, this document, not your memory of the pitch, is what counts. The first clause to understand is scope, because a grant does not fund your business in general, it funds a specific project, and you can only spend the support on what was actually approved. If your approval covered a particular piece of equipment, a defined consultancy, or a named software solution, that is what the money is for, and quietly redirecting it to something else, even something sensible, is usually a breach. The approved scope also tends to fix the shape of the project, the vendor, the deliverables, and the plan, so swapping a supplier or changing the solution partway through is not always yours to decide alone. If your needs genuinely change, ask the agency about a variation before you act, not improvise and explain later. Treat the approved scope as the boundary of what the support will pay for, and check anything near its edge before you commit the money. One of the most misunderstood parts of a grant is when and how the money actually arrives, and the answer is usually not upfront. In most cases, the support is disbursed on a reimbursement basis, which means you do the approved work, pay your vendors from your own cash first, and only then claim the support back with the proper claim and the required evidence. That has two implications. First, you need the cash flow to fund the project meanwhile, because the money comes after, not before. Second, claims almost always have a deadline and a defined window, and if you miss it, you can lose the support, even though the work was done. The disbursement is also conditional. The claim has to be correct, complete, and backed by the right documents, or it can be rejected or delayed. So find your claim deadline the day you sign, understand exactly what a valid claim requires, and plan your cash flow around money that lands later rather than sooner. Reporting and milestones. Beyond the money, most letters of offer ask you to report and to hit certain milestones along the way. Reporting might mean periodic progress updates, a completion report at the end, or documents that show the project happens as described. Milestones are the checkpoints the support is often tied to: a stage delivered, a system deployed, an outcome reached, and disbursement can depend on reaching them and showing that you did. None of this is onerous if you plan for it, but it is easy to forget when you are busy, and a late report or a quietly missed milestone can hold up your money or count against you. The simplest safeguard is to pull every reporting date and milestone out of the terms the moment you sign, put them where you will actually see them, and keep light records as you go rather than reconstructing everything at the end. Reporting is just proof that the project happened the way you promised, so make that proof easy to produce. Clawback triggers. Clawback is the clause nobody enjoys reading, but it is the one you most want to understand because it defines when you may have to give the money back. In broad terms, clawback tends to be triggered when the project departs from what was agreed, spending outside the approved scope, failing to meet conditions or milestones, submitting claims that are false or inaccurate, or abandoning the project partway through. The details differ by scheme, and the exact triggers are set out in your own terms, but the underlying principle is consistent. The support was given for a specific project delivered a specific way, and if that does not happen, the funder can ask for it back. The reassuring flip side is that clawback is almost always about breaches and misuse, not honest projects that ran into ordinary difficulty. Stay inside scope, claim honestly, and communicate early when something changes, and you are very unlikely to trip it. Read your clawback clause carefully so you know exactly where the lines are. Who owns what? For some projects, especially those involving software, product development, or anything creative, the terms may address intellectual property, who owns what the project produces, and how it can be used. In many small business grants, this is straightforward, and the output is simply yours. But it is worth checking rather than assuming, because a clause here can affect your ability to use, sell, or license what you build. Look for anything about ownership of deliverables, licenses granted to the agency, or restrictions on how the results are used or shared. If your project creates something valuable and the terms are not crystal clear, that is a question worth asking before you sign, not after the work exists and the stakes are higher. Most owners never need to worry about this, but the ones who do really need to, so give the ownership language a proper read whenever your project will produce something you would care about owning. Publicity and acknowledgement. Some grants come with publicity or acknowledgement conditions, and these are easy to overlook, precisely because they feel minor. The terms may ask you to acknowledge the support in a particular way, follow branding or logo guidelines, or get approval before you make public statements about the funding. There can also be limits on claiming or implying an endorsement you do not actually have, which matters, because overstating a relationship with a government body can cause real problems. None of this is difficult to comply with, it just has to be done the way the terms specify rather than the way you assume. If you are planning a press release, a social post, or marketing that mentions the grant, check the publicity clause first and follow it exactly. And if the terms require approval before you announce anything, treat that as a genuine step, not a formality, because getting the acknowledgement right is far easier than walking back something you should not have said. Audit rights. Almost every grant reserves the right to audit, which means the funder can ask to inspect your records to confirm the money was used the way you said. That can include invoices, receipts, proof of payment, contracts, bank records, and documents showing the project was delivered, and an audit can happen during the project or for a period after it finishes. This is not a sign of suspicion, it is a standard condition of receiving public support, and the businesses that find audits stressful are usually the ones that did not keep good records. So the habit here is simple: keep everything from the day you start, one folder for the whole project, every invoice, payment, contract, and claim you submitted for as long as the terms require, which is often several years beyond the project. If you can produce clean, complete records on request, an audit is a non-event, and that peace of mind costs nothing but a little discipline. What a breach can cost. It helps to understand plainly what typically happens if you breach a term, not to frighten you, but so the stakes are clear. The mildest consequence is usually to your money: a claim rejected, a disbursement held, or the support paused while things are sorted out. More serious breaches can lead to the support being withdrawn and clawed back, meaning you repay what you already received. And a pattern of serious problems, especially anything that looks like misuse or false claims, can affect your standing for future support and, in the worst cases, lead to further action. The exact consequences are defined in your own terms and vary by scheme, so this is a general picture rather than a rule. But the takeaway is encouraging. Almost all of these outcomes flow from avoidable things: spending off scope, missing deadlines, sloppy claims, poor records, or not communicating when something changed. Understand the terms, stay inside them, and keep the agency informed, and you keep yourself well clear of every one of these. Habits that keep you safe. Almost everything we have covered comes down to a handful of simple habits worth stating on their own. First, read the terms and conditions before you sign. properly the way you would read a contract, because that is exactly what it is. Second, the day you sign, pull every deadline, claim window, reporting date, and milestone out of the document and put them straight into your calendar with reminders ahead of each one. Third, keep evidence for every claim as you go. Invoices, receipts, proof of payment and delivery filed in one place, so a claim or an audit is just retrieving what you already have. And fourth, ask questions before you commit, not after. If a clause is unclear or your plans might change, raise it with the agency early when a variation is still possible, rather than explaining a breach later. Read, calendar, keep evidence, ask early, 4 plain habits that between them prevent most brand problems. Notens and Piwintat. Getting approved is genuinely worth celebrating, but it is the start of an agreement, not the end of the work, and the letter of offer with its terms and conditions is the document that governs everything that follows. Read it before you sign, understand the scope you are held to, the deadlines you must meet, the reports you owe, the records you must keep, and what could ask you to repay, and build the simple habits that keep it easy. Remember that everything here is general and educational. We are not a government agency, and we are not affiliated with or endorsed by anyone. The exact terms differ by scheme and change over time, and your own letter of offer and the official source are the only real authority. So before you rely on anything, read your actual terms, confirm the current details on gobusiness.gov.sg, and ask the agency when you are unsure. If this made the fine print feel less intimidating, subscribe for more plain English Singapore grant explainers, and we will keep turning these documents into plain English, one clause at a time.